Hey guys, Joe here with Two for the Road. Hey, when it comes to camping in Florida, there are so many options of places you can stay, such as the national park, the state parks, the state forests, and even county parks. And then, of course, you have the private sector of RV campgrounds, RV parks, and RV resorts. And what we're going to talk about today is free camping right here in Florida. And this video, I'm going to show you 9 parks that we have stayed at to give you a good idea of what these are like and give you an option when visiting Florida or even adventuring new territory in case you didn't know about Florida having free camping. So also in this video, I'm going to go over on how to make an account and go over some of the rules about free camping. So let's get this started.
Okay, counting down from number 9 in no particular order. Green Swamp Preserve, the West Tract. All of these parks have a locked and gated entry, so you'll need a code to enter the campground. Once you lock the gate behind you, you will realize that there is a dirt road that will lead you to your campground. Now, all these roads are maintained on a regular basis. What makes this free camping a little different is that there are no campsites specific with numbers. So once you arrive, you pick the site that you want and you set up shop. And this park is a perfect example. As you can see, it's very wide open, a lot of shade trees, so you can choose whether if you want shade or if you don't want shade, whether if you want a fire ring or if you don't want a fire ring. With these campgrounds, sometimes you'll have picnic tables and sometimes you won't. So make sure you pack accordingly for the needs that you may want when you're staying here at these campgrounds. Now, most of these campgrounds will accommodate you with a group shelter, with a place to cook, and a public toilet. So just keep one thing in mind when you're out here camping for free in Florida. You're going to be visiting the real Florida. Number 8, the Serenova Tract. Serenova Tract is part of the Starkey Wilderness Preserve and is also known as a former homestead. So be on the lookout for the homestead ruins while you're out hiking the trails. This park has 2 separate campgrounds, a primitive campground and an equestrian campground. The primitive campground is for tenting only, and the equestrian is for RVs and also folks that want to camp here with horses. And here's a quick look at the primitive campground. As you can see, it's a real short hike from the parking lot is the campsites, and you are provided a picnic table and a fire ring. And for the equestrian campground. Alright, so for some more details of the campgrounds themselves, some details and rules about these parks. The parks have no electric, no water, and no trash cans. So what that means is whatever you bring in, you must take out with you when you leave the park. And once again, there are no campsite numbers, so that means once you pull in, you pick the spot that you want. That means these are first come, first serve. So now that I mentioned that there is no electric and no water, that means you'll have to bring your own water, and you'll have to bring your own source of power, whether you're going to be operating off of solar, battery, or even a generator. Yes, generators are allowed, but there are certain hours of operation. It goes from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. And with no running water provided, that means the restrooms are pit toilets. That means there are no showers included at these parks. So some of the things you can do while visiting these parks, you can go kayaking and fishing, but no swimming. And there is even trails for bike riding, hiking, and also there is trails for horseback riding. Number 7, Cypress Creek Preserve. And here's another perfect example of visiting the real Florida for free. And in case you're wondering, most of these parks are big rig friendly. Now, these campgrounds are not known for any landmarks or historical places, but they are perfect for that camping getaway. Just take a look at some of this overhead views of where you would be camping in this wonderful state of Florida. Alright, it's time to go over some of the rules about booking some of these places to stay. So when booking any of these parks, you can only book 30 days in advance. And you can only reserve 30 days per year. And you can only stay for 5 nights per park. And you can only reserve a total of 14 days per month. And as far as scheduling windows for these parks, they can be tricky because some of these parks do close down for hunting season, and also they will close down for severe weather. And here's going to be one of the main questions that everybody will be asking. Are pets allowed? They are allowed as long as they are on a leash. And you must pick up after your dog's potty breaks. And another important question that is always asked: what is the schedule for these parks? These parks are open all year round. As you can see, this park is a little bit different than the other two you have already seen. They have some nice little clumps of scrub and some trees in between each campsite to give you a little bit more privacy and some extra shade. And this campground has less campsites available, so this will give you that little bit more of an off-grid feeling when you camp here at this park. Number 6, Green Swamp Wilderness Preserve East Tract, the Hampton entrance. Once again, you will need that code to get into that blue lock to open the gate, and be sure to lock those gates every time you enter and exit the park. This park has a wonderful 2-mile ride along the dirt road before reaching the campground. What's really nice about camping for free in these Florida parks is that you can do buddy camping. That means when you make a reservation, you can also have your friends come and park right next to your rig, making a nice personal little space, just as we did right here. And just like the other parks, you do have some toilets that are provided, but no showers. This park is also known as an equestrian campground, so you can expect horses come riding through or even camping here at this campground. This campground is also perfect for shaded areas and some wide open areas, depending on your needs. This park is also great for hiking and biking. There is a 3-mile run to get to the lakes themselves. The ride was worth seeing these beautiful twin lakes side by side. Here, just take a look at the overhead views. Now is the time I will mention there is no park rangers and there is no camp hosts at these parks. And there is no general stores to make purchases, so if you want to have a fire, make sure you bring your own firewood before arrival at these parks. Number 5, Potts Preserve. Alright, once you get past the gate, you have about 1.5 miles of a wonderful scenic drive to the campground. This campground has plenty of shaded campsites and plenty of wide open field areas for those that use solar power. And you will notice that Tammy and I set up camp on this concrete pad. It is the former group shelter for the campground, so we took advantage of having a paved site. I tell you, nothing beats being in the middle of nowhere and cooking your own meal. So this park is also known for great trails and the bike riding opportunities, and taking in the beautiful views of wild Florida. Other than camping in the wide open areas, and you have this beautiful wooded area with the canopying trees providing some really nice campsites. And where to pitch your tent or park your RV, it's a really tough choice here. This campground has a porta potty for your restroom. And here's a close look at one of the campsites: a standalone charcoal grill, a fire ring with the ability to cook on it, and a picnic table. And look at all the space you get for this campsite. So the question is, how does Florida have free camping? Well, that's easy. It is an organization for water conservation, and it is provided by the taxpayers of Florida to make this possible. Number 4, Cypress Creek Preserve. Once you get that gate closed and locked up, it's a short drive of about 1 mile to the campsites. This park has 2 campgrounds, equestrian and a primitive campground. The primitive campground has approximately 5 sites to choose from, with the accommodations of a picnic table and a fire ring. And also it has a group shelter with a picnic table and a fire ring as well. And as for the equestrian campground, there are 5 sites also to choose from. Now, these sites have a little bit more room, a little bit more privacy with the shade and the scrub to give you a little more private space. And the campsites here also have picnic tables and a fire ring. So I already know your next question, so here is how you go online to make a reservation. Simply log on to watermatters.org, and from there you will navigate on how to create an account and make your reservations. In case you missed that, I will put the information down below in the description of this video on watermatters.org. That way you can start your journey on enjoying some of the real Florida. Cypress Creek Preserve is definitely one of the places you want to add to your list to get out there and do some bike riding and some hiking, or even just enjoying good old Florida. Number 3, Lower Hillsboro Preserve, the Washburn Campground. Alright, from the locked gate, you have a very beautiful, narrow dirt road that will lead you to the campground. Now, this campground happens to have one of the longest roads I have visited to date. This one here was about 5 miles long. So take your time. It does get a little bumpy here and there, but you'll make it to the campsite and then you'll set up shop. Like I have mentioned before in the previous video on other campgrounds, there are no specific sites, there are no numbered sites, so you don't know how many campsites there actually is. But from what I could tell from this one, it looks like maybe there was 10 sites total. So when you make your reservation and it shows availability, once it reaches maximum capacity, and then the reservation system will show unavailable once it reaches maximum. So once you reach your campground, pick the site that you want, because it is first come, first serve. So the Washburn Campground, as you can see, is very well wooded for some shade, and then there's also a few spots for the sunlight in case you have solar power. Now, these sites also have a few picnic tables and a few fire rings. Now, you can move these things if you need to accommodate yourself a better position for selecting a site to set up shop. And this park also has some really nice trails for doing some exploring. Number 2, Lower Hillsboro River, the Oakridge Equestrian Campground. To reach the campground, you will pass through a large parking lot before reaching the gate. This park also has a beautiful, narrow, long drive to the campground. If you're interested in seeing the full-length drive of any of these videos or more detail of any of these parks I've shown you, definitely visit our channel. In the playlist, you'll see a category of just free camping right here in Florida. So even though these are some really great places to camp for free, but some cases they're not so great as you think. Like, for example, this specific campground has a railroad track nearby, and you will hear some evening trains during your stay. Alright, after a lengthy drive in, you will make it to the campground, and as you can see, it is a beautiful spot for some camping. It's got semi-shade, semi-full sun. It has a public pavilion with ability to cook on it with some picnic tables. It also has a well pumping water for your needs, and of course the porta potty for a restroom. This park also has some really nice trails for exploring and for bike riding, hiking, and just observing, such as wildlife and stargazing. And finally, we reach number 1, Flying Eagle Preserve. Flying Eagle Preserve is a unique campground in itself. This park is set back off the beaten path, so it has perfect amounts of shade, beautiful long roads for walking and biking, and even fishing. The campsites themselves are amazing. Some of the campsites are wide out in the open, and some of them are secluded in little pockets for perfect amount of privacy. To get to this campground, you have a beautiful scenic drive on a dirt road, and once you reach the gate, you'll have an additional long, beautiful drive with scenery and dirt road to get to the campsites. If you want to see any additional information of what the drive is like to this campground, go into our playlist of our channel and click into this park for additional details. This park has 2 separate campgrounds. One is an equestrian, the other one is primitive. Some of the sites have picnic tables and a fire ring, and some of them do not. And just a final reminder, remember, all these campsites have no numbers and there is no specific sites, so once you arrive, it is first come, first serve. And here is one of those campsites that is secluded. I thought it was the best one of the entire park. You can pull in or you can back in. Just look at all the opportunities where you could set up your camper for a great time. And what's nice, this park also has a water pump. This park only has one drawback, and it is because of the use of the river. It is a popular place for airboats, and yes, they are quite noisy. So these boats run non-stop, and they continued all the way up to 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's the price of paying for free camping, folks. So the noise really didn't bother us, but for some folks it does.
So there you have it. There's 9 parks right there that you can camp for free. And just to let you know, there's approximately 100 of them you can choose from. Now, we hope you found this information very useful and you'll take advantage of some free camping right here in Florida. You should consider subscribing to our channel, as we'll be uploading more of these parks. And if you want to see these parks in a little bit more detail, go into our channel, subscribe, and click into the playlist. You'll see a playlist just for free camping in Florida. And then from there you can select possibility of place for your next trip. Until our next video, we'll see you then.